A 21-year-old man, Dylann Storm Roof, was arrested in Shelby, North Carolina about 11 a.m. during a traffic stop. This occurred after a 14-hour manhunt for the man. Currently, he is the #1 suspect in the Charleston, North Carolina shooting of a black church. According to the New York Times, the police here say Mr. Roof, who is white, is suspected of being the gunman who walked into the prayer meeting Wednesday night, sat down with black parishioners for nearly an hour, and then opened fire. The Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, the FBI, and the United States Attorney Office for South Carolina have opened a hate crime investigation into the shooting, which left 6 women and 3 men dead, and Chief Mullen has called it a hate crime. We will be looking at all the facts, all the motivations that led this individual, if in fact he is the shooter. Pictures have circulated of the shooter wearing a jacket with the flags of 2 white supremacist regimes in apartheid South Africa and Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe. Witnesses say the man yelled, "I have to do it." The gunman was quoted as saying, "You rape our women and you're taking over our country and you have to go." According to the suspect's mother, the young man became very withdrawn and isolated after having come into contact with racist groups. He has been described as being a quiet, normal, regular kid that didn't call any attention to himself. In fact, he doesn't seem to have any history of bullying. He doesn't seem to have any history of mental illness, which would normally be the excuse used by the media to ignore the racist aspect of the shooting. However, his roommate did say that he had been planning this shooting for about 6 months. A really good question to ask here is, if he knew that he was planning this for 6 months, why didn't he say anything? It's not like he was just simply talking about it. He said he knew that he was planning it all this time. If so, there are a lot of questions the police should be asking his roommate. This is very clearly straight up an act of white terrorism. White, right-wing terrorism against black Americans. And we can always see that when these incidences happen, the way the media frames it, they say lone gunman, or this loner, this one guy who just lost his mind one day and did this. And you also notice that when the media is putting out the word looking for a suspect, when they're white, they just say a suspect. If the suspect they're looking for is black, Arab, or something like that, they'll say police looking for a black suspect, police looking for an Arab suspect. But whenever the perpetrator, or the person they suspect to be a perpetrator, is white, they just say a suspect, because they don't want to focus on that person's race. Whenever there's a shooting or a crime done where the perpetrator was black, there's certain questions they get asked that don't get asked when it's a white person who committed them. Where are the leaders of the white community to denounce this and say that this is not what they're about, and this is not what they want their young people to be doing? Where's the father in this situation? Did this young man do this because the father wasn't around? And if so, should we be taking a look at white culture to see what about it is so violent that causes them to act this way? Music, what if it's, is it all the hateful messages that come from, say, right-wing sources like Fox News? Did that play a big part in his decision to go around shooting black people? Could it be, racist sources of information like that influenced him? One thing that is immediately noticeable right away is the tremendous amount of white privilege that Mr. Roof got. Well, look what happened when he was arrested. He killed 9 people, so he's already proven that he's capable and will kill. He's done it. But he was arrested without incident. He didn't get shot. He didn't get beat up. He got arrested peacefully and taken into custody. Meanwhile, we have all these black Americans that are getting killed for literally nothing, for not having done anything whatsoever. They were completely unarmed. A lot of them weren't even acting in an aggressive manner, and yet they've been outright killed by police. And then when he's being moved from one location to another by the police, he has a bulletproof vest on and no handcuffs. What's up with that? I'd be very surprised to ever see a black man in this kind of situation. The media has actually gone pretty far to try to deny the white supremacist connection to this killing. They've said, well, we don't want to speculate on his motivations yet. They're really ignoring the obvious here, that this was a racially motivated killing. And in fact, this particular incident, shooting up a black church and killing people, is something that has happened very much in the past. And this is something that was done. This was a form of terrorism that was carried out against African Americans historically. And yet here we have it happen again. Yet its historical context, the fact that it happened in the same kind of place, where these historically happen just seems to be completely ignored by the media. This is just another example of a long-running set of terrorism that's been used against African Americans ever since the end of slavery. The whole system of Jim Crow, the whole terrorist killings by racist sheriffs, this is just simply continuing. It's just that in this particular situation, it wasn't a police officer that killed unarmed, innocent black people. It was just a regular civilian that did it. And yet he's receiving, all this beneficial treatment. All this really, really nice treatment for someone who is accused of having killed 9 people. This exists in a very real-world racist context. I mean, the man shouted why he was killing black people, and he was specifically targeting African Americans. But this unique context, this act of white right-wing terrorism is being ignored by the media. Instead, it's being portrayed as, well, we don't know if he's the guy yet, or he's just some lone guy. It's just one guy who did this. It's an isolated incident. It's just a bad apple. Rather than actually seeing it in the context of systemic racism that is the United States of America. If you like this video and you'd like to see more of them, then head over to my Patreon page and show your support. Or you can go to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share on various social media.